Hopefully I'll be bringing the boys back, Teddy and Kitten. I've been a little nervous about them. I've been kind of staying away from them so that they don't, they don't get the COVID. Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Sarah and I make videos about health, fitness, all of those things, endurance sport, and in this case, a good friend, Mr. Coronavirus. Not my friend, that's your friend. Piece of shit. But if you didn't catch my last video, I was diagnosed positive with coronavirus a couple days ago on April 1st. Kind of turned my life upside down. It's been a pretty tough situation to deal with, but we are moving on. We are moving past. If you haven't caught that video and you're interested in kind of how I was feeling and the reception of that information, I'll link that down below and at the end screen here. But I did talk about putting up a couple of updates over the course of my quarantine and my struggles, as they may be, with coronavirus. And hopefully that would be of some interest and maybe even helpful to some people out there that are more curious or maybe facing this themselves and looking for a little bit of commiseration with somebody else who's dealing with this. So that's what this video is intended to do. But before I get into it, I do want to really give a very heartfelt thank you. I cannot understate how appreciative, humbled, and heartened I am from the overwhelming response I received from the last video. The number of comments, the well wishes, the support, all of those things that you guys provided, just 100% exclusively positive. I would have never expected that in my wildest dreams, and you guys have just honestly changed my mentality surrounding this entire affair. I took that first day to grieve and to pout. And in reading those comments and really understanding that my thoughts around the stigma surrounding coronavirus, it really was misplaced. That type of attitude is really just the minority, and that the in real life folks, the people who are part of the community that I respect and I care about, those people are the ones that matter, right? You shouldn't ever take criticism from somebody you wouldn't take advice from. And that adage is so true here, and every single one of you have just proven to me that that megaphone behind that, the Twitter sphere and the nastiness, that's just such a small percentage of people. And while there will always be that just little nagging piece that, what if I did something this way instead of that way? I think that that's normal. But instead of overthinking that and dwelling on that, I'm able to look forward instead of back and focus really on reducing my stress, getting healthy, getting past this and going back to my life, right? Not letting this stupid disease really get the best of me, right? Fuck COVID. That's how I feel about it, right? That's about as positive as I can be about the actual disease itself. And I'm sure a lot of you share that sentiment. People have paid an ultimate price for this disease, so fuck it, right? It can just kiss my ass. But I do have to deal with it for the time being. So let's talk about how things have gone. So that first day of quarantine, which would have been April 1st, really makes it easy to keep track of the dates. That was the day I made the video, and I did mention that video as I felt really bad. And what I meant by that is I felt kind of bad physically. And if you've, ever had a situation, a tragedy, something that was very upsetting, and you were crying and you got yourself worked up, you do feel physically bad, right? You start to get that, congestion in the face, and you feel tired and you feel drained. So divorcing that feeling out from what might have been symptoms of COVID, that was difficult that night. So I just felt pretty shitty. Got the video up, felt a little bit better mentally speaking after reading a lot of the comments out there. So again, thank you so much. And went to bed. And I had decided that I was going to start work a little bit later. I typically start my work day at about 6:30 in the morning, but I do have some flexibility. My work is not time sensitive. So I said, I'm going to sleep in. And I'm going to start my work day around 8 o'clock in the morning. So I did get myself a little extra sleep. I woke up at 7:30, only have to walk to the desk here, so I didn't have to really do much preparation or getting ready for work. So I got several hours of additional sleep. And when I did wake up, I felt kind of better in the head, not congestion-wise, not mental health, although a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, I guess. It was a little bit of a basket case. But I felt like the congestion had reduced a little bit from here and just kind of was settled at the back of the nasal cavity, like right here. So kind of that feeling where it's just kind of tickling around, kind of when you're swallowing and just feeling a little bit of congestion back here. And I did feel like a little bit had drained into my chest. So I had a little bit of a cough, for the first maybe 30 to 45 minutes of the day. And that was mostly like productive, like it just some mucus had settled there, kind of gross, but that's really what I was coughing. It didn't feel like anything generated from the chest, and it had gone away pretty quickly. I also felt a little bit of a, like that sleep inertia. If you've ever taken a sleep aid, like, Tylenol PM or a NyQuil, that feeling that if you don't get quite enough sleep after you've taken the sleep aid, I kind of felt like that. And for a couple of hours, I was doing okay at work. I had a little bit of brain fog. I was not super pleased with that, but that was kind of to be expected with feeling a little bit tired. It wasn't anything crazy, but I did not like the feeling that I just was not as reactive. My verbal processing was definitely slower. I kept losing track of what I was doing. And that feeling of fatigue continued to amplify over several hours. So it felt like somebody had taken a weight vest and just kind of dropped it over my shoulders, like a distinct pressure and a weight kind of around my torso. Not really on my chest or my breathing or my heart. It just felt like if you go to the gym and you do a workout, if you take the soreness out, just that fatigue where you've drained your muscles, that's what it felt like. And it just kept getting worse and worse. And a little bit later in the day, in the afternoon, somewhere around 1:30, I said, you know what, I'm just going to take, I hadn't taken a lunch break or anything. I'm going to take a longer lunch break. I'm just going to push my work day out, and I'm going to try to take a nap, see what happens. So I laid down. I didn't set an alarm or anything. I took a nap. It was about maybe 90 minutes long. And I woke up. My brain was ready to wake up, but my body still felt the same. And it just kind of, I was getting a little frustrated with it. I tidy up some things at work for the day, and I just kept feeling this just really intense fatigue. Like walking to the bathroom was kind of laborious. And then I went downstairs and I picked up a package. It wasn't even a big package. It was just like a 1-pound pouch, and I bring it back up the stairs, and I get to the top of the stairs, and I remember just kind of leaning over, my hands on my knees, and I wasn't winded and my heart rate wasn't really up. I just felt like I had drained all the muscles. I may as well have run up and down the stairs 15 times, not just walked up them once. And that kind of scared me a little bit. It's like, what is this? Because it just stood on its own. It's like somebody drained my batteries. Now, I've had the flu and I've had some illnesses before where you just feel all around crappy, right? You've got a fever, you've got body aches, you have chills, crap coming out of every orifice. And I've probably had that fatigue built in, but it's this big amorphous blob of symptoms. This just stood on its own. It's just intense fatigue that even after, really hard workouts, I have not felt that physically drained before. So I'm kind of standing there and I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do with this, but I do remember back to just over the course of the year, you watch the public interest stories and read blogs, the real people who have actually suffered from this disease, that are normally productive people that have kind of typical symptoms and aren't hospitalized. And many of them have echoed the same idea where you cannot take this disease lying down, that things get worse if you just lay down and you just let it come. You have to give the body rest and you have to be able to give it the support that it needs, but you also can't just get to the point where you just sink into the couch and just let the disease ravage your body. So I kind of took this to heart, and I'm looking outside, the sun's out, and the wind was really mild. It was a little cooler out, about 35, 36, somewhere in there. I said, maybe I'll just go for a walk. Maybe I'll just feel better once I get out in the fresh air and I go for a walk. And I'm thinking to myself, do I walk around the block? There's probably still some people out at 6:30 in the evening. I don't really necessarily want to wear the mask when I go out there. And I guess I can run across the street if somebody comes up, but I think it's a little early yet. I don't want to be, I don't want the specter of me being completely irresponsible or just not respectful of other people and being out and about in kind of a walking village area. So I decided I was just going to go out back. We have a big lot back there. There's actually what used to be a grass tennis court decades ago, like a long time ago, but the posts are still in there. So it's like an official tennis court sized lot. So I started walking my prison yard rectangles back there. And I walked around for about a half an hour. I talked to my mom on the phone, and I did feel better. Like I didn't feel great, but I felt markedly better, like improved by 75%. That the fresh air and just getting moving, I did feel much better. So came inside, kind of dipping around, what have you, and I felt a little bit more energy for about a half an hour, and I started to feel kind of physically tired again, but I was not mentally tired. Like it was not time for me to go to bed. Taking a nap later in the day really does throw off my sleep patterns a little bit, but it was what it was. At this point, I'm going to have to take what I can get and just do what the body asks me to do. So I went and I laid down in bed, just let the body rest, feet up, read a little bit, watched some TV. I think I fell asleep around 1 o'clock in the morning. I turned all of my alarms off and said, you know what, I'm just gonna sleep to the extent that my body is asking me for and just take it as it is. So this morning I woke up at about 7:30 naturally, and I think part of that was, you know, maybe a little bit panicked that I'm oversleeping. It's later than I normally wake up. I could sense the light coming in from the window, and that would have been about 6.5 hours of sleep. And I said, you know what, I'm not going to move here. I'm not going to grab the phone, I'm not going to turn the TV on. I'm just going to close my eyes and I'm going to see if my body will take a little bit more sleep, just get a little bit more recovery in. There's nothing I need to wake up for right now. And I laid in bed and kind of slept on and off until about 9 o'clock in the morning, and I was just kind of bored of being asleep, and I was feeling pretty good. I got up and out of bed about 9:15, and I felt a little bit of almost the sleep hangover, like when you get too much sleep, but I got up and moving, and I went into the kitchen. I made some coffee, went to the bathroom, do all the normal morning things, and I really started to feel almost good. It was surprising, and I really wanted to temper my enthusiasm because I don't want to get super enthusiastic, like I'm over this, everything's done, and then have it kind of ebb and flow and hit me like a ton of bricks again. So, I have tempered optimism. And what's interesting is that I've been checking my heart rate variability over the past several days just to see how it reconciles with how I feel. And I did post something yesterday that showed this trend line where my heart rate variability started to crash over the course of a couple of days. And, day 1 and day 2 could have just been normal of being, short on sleep. But day 3, it pretty much bottomed out. Like it wasn't going to get much lower than where it was. And I felt every inch of that. Like my body, my autonomic nervous system is in full flight or fight mode at that point. So as I look at it this morning, it rebounded. Like not only a little bit, it rebounded a lot. It's up in like higher than usual territory. I'm like, that reconciles with how I feel. Like this, I feel decent. I feel like a normal human being, and like I'm waking up with energy, like I got enough sleep, and I'm looking up. But again, don't want to put that bad juju out there and get cocky about it, and then 2 days from now I'm in really rough shape. So, I am being, optimistic that things are getting better, but I got on the phone this morning with my doctor. They have some office hours today. And I kind of talked about a few things. And I talked about my concerns with the activity level and how that my lack of activity and kind of being cooped up here was leading to some physical depression. I think my mental health is actually pretty good, although it might not be that great if I have to sit around on my ass on the couch. But talking about my baseline and my homeostasis of being active, and then all of a sudden pumping the brakes and really being completely sedentary when I really don't have any appreciable symptoms today. Yesterday was a different story. I wouldn't have had that conversation yesterday. But today, feeling like things have rebounded, really not having any symptoms to speak of, understanding that I have to find a balance between letting the immune system respond to what's going on, but trying not to actually make myself worse by laying around. I talked about what I could do in terms of physical activity. We talked about what, my typical level of activity is, and she had okayed me to do light aerobic activity, not training. I never expected that, but we talked about, what I had available. I said, walking around in rectangles out back, it's fine for the fresh air, but it's not doing it for me. And I don't want to go out, in with people and put them at risk. And she said, no, I understand that. What do you have available? I don't have a treadmill here. So I told her I had the indoor trainer and I'm able to kind of control my output. And she says, that's probably pretty good, right? You can control those things. You can monitor your heart rate. I want you to keep your breathing rates comfortable. Obviously, it's going to be a little higher than just sitting still, but I don't want you to be labored. I don't want you to be putting any hard efforts. Just keep it light, aerobic, and controlled. Monitor your heart rate. If things start to look weird or get funny or you start breathing really hard and you don't think you should be, you got to cut it off. Right? Just cut it off right there, get off. Obviously, I'm at home. I can just step off the bike and I'll be okay. And we talked about that approach, and that is an approach that we will take as long as I am pretty much symptom-free. If that little bit of congestion she's not super concerned about, because that could be allergies and COVID. We don't know for sure. But essentially, she said, I'm going to renege my permission to be doing those workouts if you start to become symptomatic. And I am not going to be stubborn here. I'm it's humbling, but if I start to feel worse, I feel like something changes, I got to cut that off. So I gave her the promise that I was going to keep it reasonable. I did. I stayed pretty much in zone 2 for about an hour. I did a tour of Watopia, the shorter ride, kind of went around there, turned the trainer difficulty way down so there wasn't too much kind of force feedback from the hills on the course. And I went through that. I felt okay. I was a little nervous, to be honest with you. I just, obviously looking at things, and I didn't want things to go wrong. I was a little nervous about what was going to happen. My heart rate was a little high. Not high, but higher than it would be for that effort. And there's a couple things going on, right? I've got the nerves, I've got the fact that I haven't ridden in 2 days, so that heart rate probably would have been there anyway, a couple beats high, nothing ridiculous. But I did keep an eye on that, and I was trying to keep that down, and basically I kind of set a fixed point in my head where, nope, I got to really back off and let it completely recover. So really the first 15 minutes or so, I spent really low, zone 1, very low, zone 2, and I did that for the last 15 minutes. And in the middle, I kind of stayed in that mid-zone 2 territory. And I think that was good. I felt good. I got off the bike. I did feel a little bit tired afterwards. My endurance is definitely not where it needs to be, and that's fine. That is what it is, right? I got to let the immune system do what it needs to do. That was the other conversation with the doctor, that I have plenty of time to rest and recover from that small amount of additional strain, right? I have nowhere to be. I got nowhere to go. So I can take naps, I can sleep as long as I want, and that's kind of part of why she thinks that this is okay. And then afterwards, I had my meal for the evening. And I went out and I got a short walk in out back, nothing brisk, just really walking out, getting that fresh air. It's getting a little bit stagnant up here. It's gotten colder outside. I've tried to keep the windows open a little bit, but it's getting chilly up here. So I really want to just get some fresh air, and that really does help. 30 minutes just walking around out back, and I think that was good. I think that things are feeling okay. And that's reassuring to me. I'm hoping that we can just kind of maintain this, and I'll keep in touch with my doctor. And if everything disappears in terms of symptoms and I really just start to look like I'm completely on the upswing, we'll look to kind of see what we can do in terms of increasing. But my priority right now is getting healthy. It's not training, but I'd like to be able to balance in a little bit of that activity, because I think it's good for my mental health, my physical health. So if we can just balance that out appropriately with the COVID, that's what the approach my doctor and I are taking. A number of you over that last video actually gave me some really good actionable information. Some of you work in the medical field, and some of those things that you've recommended are things that I've already kind of seen in my own research as the year and the pandemic has passed. So I'm taking a lot of that to heart. I talked about some of those things with my doctor. We're going to take that approach. I'm not going to be on any medication. So I'm, upping my vitamin C in terms of both my diet and in terms of exogenous forms of just over-the-counter vitamin C. Vitamin D, I'm increasing. I usually do take a supplement of vitamin D just because we don't see the sun for 6 months out of the year here, but I've upped my dosage to about 5,000 IUs, and then I'll bring that back down after COVID, back to about the 2,000 mark until I see a little bit more sunlight around here. I'll be taking some N-acetylcysteine, a small dosage of that. I've ordered in some zinc. I was not taking zinc beforehand. I do know the benefits of zinc, but it just wasn't something I was taking beforehand. So I have that coming in. That will be here tomorrow morning. I did order an SpO2 sensor, just the fingertip sensor. I was getting some funny readings from my watch. Things looked like they were trending down, not today, but yesterday. Not something ridiculous. It usually reads a little bit low because I don't keep it super tight, but it's usually stable to itself, and I did see things dip down a little bit yesterday, and it didn't really reconcile with how I felt, but you won't necessarily feel some of that, so the doctor agreed that'd probably be a good idea. It's a nominal cost, maybe 20, 25 bucks or whatever, and just check it periodically, make sure things are good. She said it might even be a good idea to wear it during my workouts. It's not going to be that big of a deal to put that on my finger, and if I see things dip down, get off, stop. Exactly what I'm doing, and do not pass go, do not collect $200. So that's what we're going to be doing in terms of kind of treatment and helping my immune system, but nothing in terms of medication right now. I do have an appointment for a vaccine on April 20th. I was able to get an appointment as long as I have not been treated with antibodies or convalescent plasma between now and the time I'm done with this whole affair. I can get the vaccine pretty much right away. So I intend to do that. I'm going to leave that at the discretion of the doctors, whether or not I'm going to take 1 dose or 2. I am getting the Pfizer mRNA vaccine. So I'm going to leave that to them. They get to make that decision. I don't know if they're going to do any type of antibodies testing. I don't seem to right now have a severe case of this, so they might recommend I just go for the standard dosage, what have you, but that's kind of the plan for kind of forthcoming treatment into the distant future. I'll be getting the vaccine, as I kind of mentioned in the last video. In terms of other symptoms, a few people have asked about taste and smell. So my sense of taste, I think, is fine. It seems normal. I don't notice a difference in my sense of taste. I've noticed that my appetite has been kind of diminished a little bit. Things just don't seem all that appealing to me. I wouldn't say it's gone, but I have cravings for certain things. So fruit, I have cravings for like just healthy food. Like the body is kind of smart like that. It really wants high nutrition food. What it's also craving, even when I'm not hungry, is sugar. Sugar, sugar, sugar. Like it feels like sometimes like I could really eat some candy right now. I could dig myself a bag of candy right now. And I think that's just low energy, right? That's just what we crave, more low in energy, cheap, easy fuel sources that come from sugar. So I've been kind of craving that on and off a little bit, but I've just been giving my body as much high nutritionally dense food as I possibly can. I think my caloric count, I haven't really been tracking it, but it is lower. My activity is lower though too. So I think just if I'm eating intuitively, I don't need as many calories. I'm not taking in as many calories. Obviously, you want to give your body the fortification it needs to fight the illness, but I'm not going to force feed anything either and put extra strain on my digestive system and put extra strain on the body that way. So just trying to keep all of the foods that I am putting into my body as efficient and nutritionally dense as possible. I think that's just going to help things. I've really been enjoying mandarins right now, extra vitamin C, right? They're delicious. They're in season right now, so I'm really enjoying those, and making some smoothies as well, getting some dark leafy greens in that way. But that's kind of what I've been doing in terms of diet, and maybe it's helping, maybe it's not. I don't know, but I'd be remiss to not avail myself of any normal kind of treatment protocol or prophylactic protocol to try to give my immune system and my body every leg up possible to fight this stupid thing and get rid of it, be done with it. I'm so happy that I'm already going into day 4. It feels like forever, and it also feels like it's flying by really quickly. So it's a very weird state of affairs to be in, but I'm just glad that I'm working through it. I'm glad that I've had so much support from you guys already that have it's just been so helpful. I wish I can put into words how much it actually means to me. Like, this isn't lip service. This is like genuine, heartfelt appreciation and gratitude for just a great community of people. Like, I knew that to be true, but you guys have proven it out in more, I can't thank you guys enough. I really can't put it into words, and I'm going to be stumbling all over my words if I try to express gratitude appropriately. So I just want to thank you so, so very much. I hope that you guys found that this update was interesting, answered a couple questions of how things are going. I'm doing good. My mentality is good. I don't feel mentally depressed. I'm a little bit tired. That's okay. I can deal with it. You know, being sick, it's a blow to the ego, and it gives us a lot of humility as athletes especially. I think that I'm physically doing okay. We'll see if things change. I hope that they don't. I hope that I'm doing all the right things to be on the right side of this virus. You know, we'll see what happens. I'll share more as things come up, but thank you guys so much again. Hit the thumbs up button for recovery on COVID-19. Let's hope. You can hit the thumbs down button, but it kind of makes me sad. You know, hopefully I'll be bringing the boys back, Teddy and Kitten. I've been a little nervous about them. I've been kind of staying away from them so that they don't get the COVID. We don't want them to get the COVID, but I'll bring the boys back soon so they can, you guys like them more than me anyway. But thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you guys soon.